We try to delay the reason you came here for as long as possible. In the traditions of university commencements, the person with my job has the last word in what is known as the charge to the class. So I address the graduates of 2022, 2021, and 2020. No class of graduates in recent memory have left their campuses to take their places in the world in a moment of history more terrifying than that which faces these graduates today. Consider the violence that surrounds us in the form of the killings in Texas and Buffalo and the war of aggression by Russia against Ukraine. Violence threatens the lives and tranquility of every individual. We must add to gun violence and war the violence of words and the unprecedented outpouring of hate, prejudice, and ignorance that now defines the public realm, created by the virtual spaces to which we all have become addicted. Our natural response to this is fear, paralysis, and the retreat from the public realm. As we wind our way through the streets and stand in lines once again at airports and travel in the confined spaces of public transport and to return to our places of work, we move about with masks, identity cards, in some countries, tracking devices, fearful that the dangers others pose to us, whether as resistors to the best advice of medicine and science, or as aggressive proponents of identity politics that traffic in mythical constructs of homogeneity and superiority and unique historical solidarity. We react to fear by being reluctant to exercise the freedom of movement we once cherished, and as to our right to the freedom of speech, we fall silent and repeat the formulas and cliches that dominate the particular segment of the public space we choose to inhabit, so we can escape scrutiny, criticism, or punishment. At this moment, it is therefore not clear that the political framework we claim to believe in, that secures personal freedom, autonomy, debate, dissent, and the right to privacy and the keeping of personal secrets, that all comes from our freedom to think and to speak without fear, will survive. We have lost all of our taste for criticism and replaced it with thoughtless conformism and pleasure in retribution, punishment, and ostracism for those who dissent or who are different. We have appropriated a Puritan taste for condemnation and moral hectoring without retaining any confidence in redemption, change, and forgiveness. And we have lost that indispensable quality of humanity, our sense of humor. The condition you face, and we all face, now becomes the fertile ground for illiberalism, tyranny, and autocracy, and the death of deliberative politics. This predicament is not helped by the intolerable inequality of wealth we have come to accept. At the core of the danger facing democracy today is our collective abandonment of any agreement as to what we understand as truth and certainty. Without a common ground for knowing, shared methods of inquiry, and the provision of accepted conclusions, even if they are later to be revised, there can be no political freedom, no room to agree or agree to disagree, no politics of conversation and compromise with which to combat the raw use of violence to subjugate and eliminate those whom we do not like and those with whom we do not agree. We become content to cling to prejudices and superstitions. Your alma mater, Bard, and all the fine institutions of higher education, colleges and universities, have, at least since the 17th century, been dedicated to advancing truth and cultivating ever higher degrees of certainty, using human reason and the rules of evidence and shared criteria of judgment to establish, to disprove, to innovate, to reject, and to persuade. Yet for all the expansion of access to higher education, we inhabit a world where all that has been undermined by this has all been undermined by an all too fashionable skepticism. The distinction between a lie and the truth has been obliterated. Radical skepticism has eviscerated the capacity to change someone's mind when faced with evidence, to encourage them to give up the most beautiful myth given the proven reality of ugly facts. We need to return, with your help, to combat such radical skepticism and reconstruct a common ground for knowledge, the sort of universal, unified ground that makes vaccination right and just not one opinion among equal opinions. That debunks claims of racial and national distinction and superiority as false and establishes a shared basis for the recognition of how and why our planet is in danger. Only through the use of our reason and our faith in establishing the verifiable extent and limits of our knowledge can a pluralistic democracy thrive and the traditions of democracy defeat autocracy and tyranny. But this in turn demands faith in the ability of every single human being to learn and to understand. In the baccalaureate service you all attended on Thursday, we sang a verse about truth entering the ear of reason in the hymn taken from Franz Joseph Haydn's oratorio, The Creation. We referenced collectively using our universal capacity, not only for language, but for music, our shared belief in the metaphor of being made in the image of God, a God who speaks, who creates with words, and who exercises judgment and wisdom that can be rationally interpreted and understood. In our world of advanced science and technology, what faces us in the future are triumphs of artificial intelligence. Only by fostering a shared level of excellence in education can we manage these advances and reclaim our sacred humanity, our individual autonomy, freedom from fear, mutual suspicion, and our vulnerability to unseen conspiracies that elude proof, and then proceed to defeat the brute use of force exercised either through the dictates of arbitrary laws or the barrel of a gun. Your alma mater is dedicated to the expansion of knowledge and the search for truth, and we invite you as alumni to join us in embracing that mission as you step up to the fight for freedom, justice, and democracy. Congratulations.